Hello, Adele Bates, Behaviour and Education Specialist here, keynote speaker and author of Miss I Don't Give a Shit, Engaging with Challenging Behaviour in Schools. And yes, this is another vlog by the seaside, proving that that's where I live, taking advantage of it, getting out of the classroom. So in this vlog, I want to talk about a topic that's coming up a lot lately, and that is motivation. How we get our young people motivated, particularly our year 11s, year 13s, pupils going into exams or not going into exams, or has the government decided yet? And their friends didn't do exams and they worked for them, but then they didn't happen anyway. And why should I give a bleep, bleep, bleep? You might be hearing similar kind of rhetorics in your classroom, let me know. So what do we do when we are working with pupils who are not motivated to learn? And yes, this has come particularly from the pandemic and lockdowns and the various kind of, oh look, there's a seagull, totally distracted. Yes, lack of motivation has come from pandemics and the kind of unclear guidance we've had around exams, particularly in the UK. But this is something that we have always seen around behaviour and learning, and I imagine always will. So, for me, the most important thing to consider around motivation is that if someone is not motivated to do something, there is something in the way. So think about something that you are not motivated to do, okay? Let's take something really simple, the washing up. I find it hard to motivate myself to do the washing up. I find it boring, I find it repetitive, I feel like it doesn't really give me anything, and it's really hard to engage myself in that task. So then I look at, okay, how do I motivate myself with that? And you can do this for yourself. So think about a task that you have to do that you find hard to get motivated for, and how you actually manage to do it. And often we manage to find a way. There are kind of a few approaches, but one of the ways we can do is by someone shouting at us and telling us we absolutely have to do it, and there'll be some kind of consequence. How does that work? How does that work for you in terms of motivation? Maybe think about your own workplace managers, ex-managers, etc. How does it work for you when someone says, well, you've just got to do it, you've just got to get on with it, otherwise there will be a consequence? And you might recognize this type of external motivation or attempted motivation from your classroom or from your school, that if pupils don't do certain things, there are punishments. And we could say that motivates us to a point. There are, though I would argue, fallouts from this. We get some students who become scared, some students who become anxious, some students for whom a detention really isn't that much compared to what they're going through in their own home lives. It doesn't really work. So then we need to think about internal motivations. So things that will internally motivate me to do my washing up. Okay. So there are different things we can do. We can chunk it down, and I can say, okay, let's do this in bite-sized chunks. If I do that, and then I can reward myself. So that's another common structure that we might see in our classroom for motivation, by breaking things down into bite-sized chunks and then offering kind of mini rewards as we go along. And when I say rewards, I'm not talking about sweets. I'm not talking about you buying lots of things for your children just to help them write the title, not at all, but just that encouragement as we go through, so that the task doesn't seem as big. So we're helping them deconstruct it into manageable pieces. Another thing I think of when I wash up, one of the things that helps me is I'll listen to a podcast or music, so I will make it enjoyable in a different way for me. That's another way. So is there something alongside a task that you're setting your young people that, okay, they don't particularly like their times tables, but you know what, they do love music, so how about we get the keyboards in, do some timetables with music, something like that. And then another intrinsically motivating way to do it is to think about the end vision, to think about that end goal. And I have used this with the GCSE classes a lot. When they're in that slog bit, the bit where it's just coming towards the exams, but they feel like they've been working on them forever and they just can't motivate themselves anymore. Sometimes I'll have a one-off lesson where we'll just not actually touch any of the work, But what we'll do is I'll have a big conversation about what they want to do next in their lives, where they see themselves in the future, what kind of skills they want in the future, what kind of things they want to do. And then once we've had that kind of discussion, that kind of big vision, goal setting discussion, I will break that back down right to today's lessons. So I go, let's say one of them wants to be a fashion designer. Great. What skills are you going to need for that? Okay, you're going to need these skills. How are you going to get those skills? By going to university. How are you going to get to university? By doing my A-levels. And you can see, and it takes it all the way back down. And it brings it back to the present day, so that the task that they are struggling to get motivated with is not some kind of arbitrary thing in the future, but is something that will work and work for them now. I've also done this in individual levels with young people with very extreme behaviour needs. I had one young person excluded several times from several schools, really struggling to motivate himself to read, and that was because of all sorts of reasons. He'd had a very bad relationship with reading in education thus far. He was a teenager, he was still kind of reading age 4, if we were lucky, maybe 3, and so he was very disengaged with that. Why should he be motivated? He knows he fails at reading. And so what I did was this exact same thing. We talked about his life, what he wants to do, where he wants to go, the family that he wants to have, etc. And I again then broke it down for him to help him see how those things linked to the very lesson there and then when I was teaching him nouns and pronouns. I hope this has helped with your motivation and behaviour. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. If you would like more of this, then do grab me on my website on adelbateseducation.co.uk. Thank you.